as if something somewhere had happened to me, which I couldn't see. And then, the moment I met you again, I knew in my heart that we were friends. It had to be so, it couldn't be no, but try as hard as I might do, I don't know why. You get to me in a way I can't describe. Words mean so little when you look up and smile. I don't care what people say, to me you're more than a child. Oh Claire, 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 if ever a moment so rare was captured for all to compare, that moment is you in all that you do. But why, in spite of our age difference, do I cry? Each time I leave you I feel I could die. Nothing means more to me than hearing you say, I'm going to marry you. Will you marry me, Uncle Ray? Oh Claire, Claire.
Following his sold-out concert performances around the world, 70s and 80s singer-songwriter superstar Gilbert O'Sullivan, one of the biggest Irish songwriters of our time, is on his way to Australia. He's going to perform a series of concerts here in Melbourne at the Hamer Hall, and he'll be here Tuesday, March the 27th. From Alone Again Naturally to Claire We're Playing Now, he's made some wonderful, wonderful hits from the 70s and into the 80s. Gilbert O'Sullivan joins me online. Nice to have you here, Gilbert. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Leigh. Good to be talking to you.
Welcome back to Oz.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Well, I mean, I came here in 2000 with just a couple of musicians, just as a little tryout. But
Yeah.
this is the first time with my full band, so I'm really excited about that.
When we say full band, how many have you got?
There's 9 of us altogether. So.
Okay. Are they full all of the time or just a part of the time?
I'm sorry?
Are they full all of the time?
You have to ask them.
I think they'd be quite sane. You'd be quite all right. You had a bit of a break in your, I suppose, your recording industry and also your performances back in the 80s. You had some legal battle going on, I was reading about.
Yeah, there are a couple of legal things. I mean, legal cases are a bit like going into the Ritz Hotel. Anybody can go in, but can you stay there?
That's it.
So I was lucky I fought for something, a principal issue in the first one, which became a whole can of worms once it started. I never expected that. The second one was to do with sampling. I mean, the only good thing to come out of that was, apart from the fact that the person who did it was wrong and we corrected it, it set a precedent for sampling. It meant that anybody in the future who sampled illegally was caught out, because my case meant that it's kind of set a precedent. So that was a positive thing.
Very positive, wasn't it? Very positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did it all start for you, Gilbert? Let's go back to the early days.
I think, this is a kid, 62, when the Beatles came out. We all wanted to join a band because of them. They were young, they looked different, and they wrote their own songs without any knowledge of music. So you kind of identify with that. So like millions of other kids around the world, I joined the band as a drummer, and then it got a little more serious. Eventually became almost to the point where we would have turned professional, but the bass player and the guitar player in the band had apprenticeships. So that meant the keyboard player and myself. The keyboard player was Rick Davis, who went on to form Supertramp, and I went on to form Gilbert. So
your first single there, Gilbert, was Nothing Rhymed, 1970, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the first hit. The first thing got 67, actually. But the first hit was once Gordon Mills took over as manager.
Yeah.
He managed Tom Jones, I think, about Humperdinck. Once he got on board, it worked out brilliantly. Yes, Nothing Rhymed was the first success. That was wonderful.
And it's hard to believe when we're talking about Alone Again Naturally. It's a great song, absolutely love it. But that took it back to 1972. I can't believe so many years have gone in between this.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah.
I recall Ray Conniff doing that song too.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is the cover versions of that are remarkable. I mean, recently we've had Diana Krall and Michael Bublé.
Yes.
And Neil Diamond did a really nice version. In fact, he wrote me a note. Was curious to know what I thought of it, which I thought was really sweet. And so
what did you say to Neil Diamond?
Well, I said it was useless. But,
Did you useless?
I think as a songwriter you must realize that anybody who covers your song, whether you like it or not, is a compliment to you as a writer.
Yeah.
But his version was lovely. But there's some great versions. Sarah Vaughan did a fantastic version. Nina Simone did an amazing version. So down the years, there's been fantastic versions of the songs, which is, as I say, which is a real tribute to you as a writer.
It certainly is. When you sit back and then listen to your song by another artist, such as you say, Neil Diamond, how does it make you feel yourself? Do you sit there saying, "Oh, look, the phrasing's wrong there," or do you criticise it that way, or how do you personally feel?
No, I don't criticise it at all. I'll give you another example. We have a Japanese version by a heavy metal band, and it flies along at 200 miles an hour.
Wow!
I just love it. No, I don't criticise at all. I mean, it's because, as I say, once you accept that it's a compliment, they do it. Then you just, it's fine. I mean, obviously, if they did the wrong words, I wouldn't be happy.
Yeah.
If they changed the melody, I wouldn't be happy. So as long as they stick to what the song is about with the melody and the lyrics, I'm happy with it.
Gilbert, where does the inspiration come from for these wonderful songs you've written?
I think as a songwriter, you learn your craft by listening to great songs. I always tell people that in the 60s, when I first came to London, age 19, that amongst all my Beatles and my Stones and my Bob Dylan albums, I had albums by Peggy Lee and Ella Fitzgerald. And I didn't necessarily buy them because I liked those artists. It was because of the songs they were singing, those great American songs. So that's how you learn your craft. So the inspiration really in those days was just a love of music. Because we don't read, because we don't write music in the sense of doing a manuscript, it's just the love. It's the feeling we get from hearing these records on the radio, hearing songs that we buy. That's the inspiration for being able to go into a room, sit at a piano in my case, and try and come up with a melody, and then sitting down with a notebook trying to come up with a lyric.
Gilbert, in 2000, in the 2000s, you decided to get back on the road and start touring. You had other people, as you said before, recording your songs, and you had a renewed love for touring. What was that like when you first got back on the road?
Well, it was great because I started once I got back on the road touring, which was really in the early 90s when we restarted. I didn't have the full band then. I just kind of worked my way up. It was almost like doing solo shows. So then I've worked my way up, got much better because I didn't really come from a background of performance. If you take an artist like Tom Jones, he learned his trade in the clubs. The Beatles learned their trade in Hamburg. I learned my craft sitting in the garden shed trying to write songs. So I had no experience of an audience. And it took me, what's interesting with me, if you kind of look back, in 1970 with the first success, and then lots of success in 71 and 72, and it didn't actually start touring until 1972. So I had 2 years of success without going on the road, which, because my background wasn't a touring background. So therefore, once I got into touring and realized how important it was, then I learned and I learned. So as the 90s went on and into 2000s, I've got much better at it. So I'm at a point now where we do a 2.25 hour concert. That's all to do with the experience you learn by going on the road as much as you need to.
And this current tour that you're on right now is the 50th anniversary tour that you're doing, celebrating all those wonderful, wonderful songs. You did have an appearance, I'm told, at the the theatre in Dublin. I'm thinking of here.
Well, we did last year. Last year we did two concerts with an orchestra.
That's it. That's the one
in Dublin. So that was really nice. In fact, the peak of that was doing the concert at Hyde Park in front of 40,000 people.
That was the Proms, wasn't it?
Yeah, where we had a 60-piece orchestra. And the nice thing about my songs, the early songs in particular, who were arranged by the great Johnny Spence, God rest his soul, he they were done with probably at the most a 30-piece orchestra. But the arrangements were so good that when we did it at Hyde Park with a 60-piece orchestra, it's just wonderful. It's wonderful to have that amount of orchestra behind you.
Someone was asking me today what we see as the difference in music from when you and I were quite popular back then, yourself in the 70s and 80s, to the music that we have today. I think it's fallen off the rails today. What are your views?
No, I don't take that attitude at all. I mean, I find there's always something I like. I mean, if I buy a Jay-Z record, right, I'm not going to get a lot melodically out of it, but what I do get out of listening to rappers' records is the production value. So I think that's what I kind of get out of that. When I want to listen to what is melody, I'm going right back to the beginning of the 20th century. I'm going back to Irving Berlin in London in 1918, 1920, because the melodies were brilliant, albeit that they sounded very old-fashioned. So that's what I'm always searching for, melodies. But I'll buy the rappers' records because, as I say, I can learn from it. I can learn other things from it. So I don't really. I mean, I pretty much buy everything that's going on today. You name it, I buy it, because I feel you have to. Can't call yourself a contemporary songwriter if you're not liking what you hear. I mean, there's an interesting story where George Harrison was quoted as saying in the 90s that how he hated hearing stuff on the radio now. And I'm thinking to myself, well, when George was 19 or 15 or 14 as a kid, he probably loved what he heard on the radio, what Elvis was about and Buddy Holly was about. So I think that the key to being a contemporary songwriter and being able to do it, you have to like what's going on. Otherwise, in a sense, you'll get left behind.
A great answer, it really is. And it summarises, I think, what a lot of people feel about the music today and years gone by too. The melody is the important thing, as you just said. You're up at the Gold Coast tomorrow night at the Star. That's the 10th tomorrow night. You're launching these wonderful series of concerts. And then down here in Melbourne on Tuesday, the 27th of March, at the Arts Centre. It's the Hamer Hall, a beautiful hall, acoustically fantastic. It's perfect.
I'm really looking forward to this. So I'm really looking forward to meeting up with everybody here.
And all of your hits?
They'll get it, well, as I say, 2.25, 2.5 hours. Yeah. We have a little 50-minute break in the middle. So the nice thing is that you get the combination of all the songs that people want to hear, plus some album tracks that people often request, and then a little taste of new material. So it's a good combination, I hope. It's worked so far.
We can get online and book through the Arts Centre in Melbourne. That's the Hamer Hall for Tuesday the 27th. Gilbert, great to talk to you. Thank you very, very much for your time today, and all the best with your Australian tour.
Thanks a lot, Leigh. Nice talking to you.
You too.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.